Welcome to the first of hopefully many SuperFast, SuperFit live videos on Facebook. Technology, you gotta love it. So today, I plan on answering one of my fans' questions. The question came from DJ, and DJ asked me, he said, I've heard of intermittent fasting, but I've never heard the term super fasting. What's the difference? The reason, DJ, that you've never heard of super fasting is because I came up with that for my book, SuperFast, Fasting for SuperHealth. I am not a doctor and I'm not a dietitian. You need to know that. Any advice that you think that I'm giving you at this point, please do your own research. Please see a doctor if you decide to start fasting. With that said, the difference between intermittent fasting and super fasting. So intermittent fasting, unfortunately, in our day and age, intermittent fasting has become very popular. That's not the unfortunate part. The unfortunate part is that most people believe that it's just 16 hours a day with an 8-hour eating window, or 18 hours a day with a 6-hour eating window, and ketogenic diet, keto. Okay, I'll refer to that as keto from now on. These are two separate things: keto, the ketogenic diet, and intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting is much more than just 16 hours without food and 8 hours of eating. Although in my book, SuperFast, Fasting for SuperHealth, I do say that if you want to start slow, 16 hours of fasting and 8-hour eating window is a good start. I, of course, go step by step on how to get into intermittent fasting. So some of the other protocols that you can follow, the regimens that you can follow, you can do 1 day per week of fasting. So you go the entire day without eating. You can have water, coffee, or tea. We drink mineral water when we're fasting, and we drink mineral water when we're not fasting because it is very healthy. The 1 day starts at 8 p.m. the night before the fast, goes through the entire day, and it ends when you break the fast. Breakfast, if you're on a 16-8 every other day, you would go until 11 or 12 o'clock. And it becomes 34 to 40 hours of fasting. That's a long time, and that's when you really get the benefit. We'll talk about how fasting, the longer you fast, the more benefits you get from it at another time. Now, you can also fast for 2 days per week with 5 days of eating. This is also called 5-2 in the popular culture, pop culture, made famous by Michael Mosley, the 5-2 diet, but he allows on the 2 days of eating, or I'm sorry, the 2 days of fasting, he allows 500 calories for women and 600 calories for men. This is also called a fast mimicking diet. It has nothing to do with fasting because you are eating on your fasting days, and that makes no sense. These are actually calorie restriction diets. That's all they are. And they should be called that because there's going to be confusion between a true intermittent fast or a true super fast and these so-called fast mimicking diets. Now, our protocol, our regimen calls for the 2 days where you eat no solid foods, only water, coffee, and tea. Now, you can get into some stricter fasting plans. We follow the 3 days a week of fasting and 4 days of eating. We have a splurge day in there, so we have 3 regular whole food plant-based eating days, and then a splurge day where it really ends up being a splurge meal. It's basically every other day fasting, but that's another regimen where you just fast every other day. Only water, coffee, and tea every other day, and then you can eat whatever you want on the eating days. So understand that IF, intermittent fasting, is not just 16-8 and keto. Two totally different things. And we do not believe in the ketogenic diet. It is not really sustainable. Fasting is getting into the fasted state, the metabolic switch. Okay, you go from sugar burning, which most people on a standard American diet who eat 3 meals a day are on. They burn sugar. Okay, and then when you switch, when you have this metabolic switch to the fasting state, it's called ketosis, and this is one of the reasons that it's confused with the ketogenic diet, because the ketogenic diet puts you into ketosis also. But in fasting, you get into ketosis, the fasted state, around 12 hours of fasting. It's around 12 hours of fasting. So after 12 hours, you're in this ketogenic state, and you've metabolically switched from burning sugar into burning fat. And this is why when you are on IF, intermittent fasting, you lose a ton of weight. We lost a lot of weight, and you can see before and after pictures. You can see those on SuperFast, SuperFit, our Facebook page. You can see them in SuperFast, Fasting for SuperHealth. The before and after pictures, they're stark, they're dramatic. I was extremely heavy, and now I'm at an ideal weight. That's what fasting does. That's what intermittent fasting is. And that's what we started out with. But very quickly, I realized in order to take care of my physical medical problems, one was ulcerative colitis and the other was osteoarthritis. I knew that I needed something even more drastic than 3 days a week of fasting and 4 days of eating. So we incorporated the long-term fast every 3 months. And that's what superfasting is. It's intermittent fasting plus long-term fasting 4 times per year. So every 3 months, we do a long-term fast. We're about to do that actually next weekend. We're going to do a 3-day long-term fast. So intermittent fasting and long-term fasting, that's super fasting. If you decide to do intermittent fasting, you can find a lot of information out there, or you can buy my book and I guide you through it step by step. And then you can go to long-term fasting to do super fasting. But here's the deal. You should know how to break a fast before you do a long-term fast. It's very dangerous. The long-term fast is not dangerous, but breaking it the wrong way is definitely dangerous. Please don't attempt a long-term fast until you know how to break a long-term fast. A day of intermittent fasting, 16-8 or 24 hours or 34 hours, 40 hours, however long you do it is fine, and you don't have to worry about breaking it. You can break it with regular food. Certainly fruit and vegetables are better to break it with than steak, which is what keto people do, and that's really not good. Everybody can fast. Pretty much everybody. There are a few people who shouldn't, and as I said in the last video, I covered that in my book. And just start slow. You know, my wife and I, JC and I, we jumped into this. I read about it, I saw that it was a good thing. I thought, I'm going to try this intermittent fasting, and I jumped right into it. 2 days of fasting, no solid food, only water, coffee, and tea. 5 days of eating, and yet we tried to eat healthy. We avoided meat at the time. Now we've totally given up meat. We'll talk about diet at another time. And JC also jumped right into it. She fasted 1 day a week and 6 days of eating. Okay, so we were on a little different schedule at the beginning. After I went every other day fasting for a month, and she saw that that worked, and I was okay from it. So she moved to 2 days a week of fasting, and after a month of her doing that, she suggested that we do 3 days a week. And I said, okay, let's try it. We've gotten down to our ideal weight and we still fast 3 days a week. Now, that's not to say that that's what you have to do. You can start slow, and I advocate in my book that you start slow. Clean up your diet if you have a really bad diet, if you're very overweight, if you're morbidly obese. You can just work on eating more plants, eating less animal protein. And then after you've lost a few pounds, because you will if you eat more plants and less animal products, you can go into 18-6. I've had people say that Ted, one of my, he purchased my book and he's one of my clients. He said at the beginning, when I first met him, I can't go for 5 hours without food. And he started fasting and now he's going for 18 hours a day without food. And he's already lost a lot of weight. I'm going to do another TED talk to talk about his progress. But start slow. Do 18 or 16-8. Then move to 18-6. Then move to a 24-hour fast once a week. Then move to 2 days a week. And that's really where I say most people should stop at 2 days a week. So 2 days of fasting, 5 days of eating. Because, I mean, unless you're some athlete or you have some physical goal that you're trying to get to, 2 days a week is really enough. And if you do the other 5 days where you're doing 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating, that's a lot. Start slow, work up, and then after 3 months of fasting, at least 1 or 2 days a week, you can go to the long-term fasts every 3 months. And before you know it, you're going to be thin and healthy and muscular, and your friends are going to wonder why. That's when you know that you did the right thing. Bye. Thanks for watching.